Good afternoon, everyone. Guys, I want to talk about leadership today and the lack of it in our current political establishment. Now, before we go on and talk about, how I see how I think politicians should be acting right now, what I'll say is something you get taught really early on in the military is leadership comes from the front. You can't lead from the back. You have to lead by example, whether that's you being at the front of your section, you being at the front of your platoon, you being at the front of your company or battalion. If you're a leader, people are looking at you for examples, and if you are the type of person that is going big box, little box in Ibiza, if you're the type of person who gets down on one knee, if you're the type of person that gives a certain aura, that's the type of leadership your premiership is, not gravitating. That's the type of leadership your premiership is giving off. That's the type of followers you're going to attract. Again, this may be fine for everyone out there. People may think it's absolutely fine. But a little example, and I don't know if you guys understand, for those of you not from a military background, and I can only speak about my unit. When you're in the military, your officers, senior ranks, they'll always go last when they come to, when it comes to handing out food. Your officers and your senior ranks will always be at the back of the queue. Your officers and senior ranks, they will always do what, the guys on the ground floor are doing. So, for example, your sergeant major, he may have got 22 years experience, but in those 22 years experience, he will have dug sandbags. He will have dug you can't dig a sandbag. He will have filled sandbags. He will have dug trenches. He will have done all the jobs you've done. So when he's telling you to do something, he knows what he's telling you to do. The officers. So again, I can only speak for my unit. Officers would fill sandbags with the rest of the men. Officers would dig trenches, although they kind of did try and skive out of it quite a lot. But they'd be there and they'd put in the effort in. So what I'm seeing right now from the political class is just absolute hypocrisy. Where are we? Labour MPs Labour MPs expensed over £400,000 for energy bills before axing the winter fuel payments. In fact, let me share this with you guys because this has just made me think of something. There's a scene on Star Wars where he says, I can't remember I think it's Obi-Wan, and he says, "You'll never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy." And looking at that picture there, it's hard not to think of that. Anyway, so MPs claimed more than £400,000 of taxpayers' money to heat their own homes over the last 5 years, as the party voted to cut winter fuel payments for millions of pensioners this month. Official figures reveal how much members who claimed expenses for their London accommodation have been awarded over time, with some taking thousands. Rachel Reeves, so she's the one who's in charge of these fuel cuts, who announced the controversial cut to the winter fuel payments in July, has claimed £4,400 since she was elected an MP in 2010. So, guys, that's not really that much. But anyway, let's get on with it. In the last 5 years alone, the figure was 3,700. Right. So she's claiming a lot more recently. Analysis from the Telegraph shows. Guys, what I think, MPs should be doing is they should be taking a leaf out of military doctrine. And I'm not saying they have to have the morals, the scruples, the personal integrity that the military have, but just a little bit of leading by example. How about Keir Starmer comes up there and he says, because this is what officers used to do, and this is what, if you got a good company commander or a good battalion commanding officer, this is what they would do. In fact, guys, slightly caveat now. I can remember my battalion commander, who was he went on to be chief of the army. I can remember him living in worse accommodation than the private soldiers, and he made sure that he was seen living like, you know, when we went out on exercise, guys, I don't mean when he lived in the barracks, you know, where he stayed, it would be as bad or worse than the guys. And I remember this one time, you know, I think it was B Company 1 Para, B Company 1st Battalion Parachute Regiment. We was put into this barn, and the barn had heating, and it had like washing machines and running water, you know. And for some of you guys, you'll be thinking, oh, well, that's standard. But, you know, from an infantry point of view, that is really good accommodation. You know, we never get that. That sort of stuff is usually held for HQ, people in battalion and in battalion HQ. The commanding officer had put himself in this horrific barn that it was literally just a pole barn, which it just had a roof and there was no walls on it. And that's kind of how you get respect. That's how you lead. That is leadership. So guys, guess what? The people saw him sacrificing. They saw him and his guys doing without, and everybody worked for him. And he commanded loyalty. And it's very difficult for people who've never been in those situations. When you command loyalty, you command a lot more than pens and paper and legislation and the ability to punish people. When you command loyalty, you command the people. So if Keir Starmer was to come out and he was to say something on the lines of, right, guys, listen, we've got a £22 billion black hole. You know, no MPs will claim winter fuel. No MPs will claim this expenses. No MPs will claim this, you know, and you'll all take a 10% salary decrease. That is leadership, guys. That is setting a standard. That is setting a precedence. That is how you get the country to get behind you. That's how you command, guys, and that's how you get loyalty. What we're seeing at the moment is not that. I really don't know what he's doing, guys, honestly, because all I'm seeing is when people only know the whip, they only know the whip. So when people only know punishment, they only give punishment. And that's what we're having in the country at the moment, guys. That's the way we're heading towards. We've got this problem where things are boiling up under the surface. We've got MPs going on holiday, giving big box, little box, while the rest of the people are suffering. Guys, leadership from the front. Leadership by example, and leadership means leadership. It means you need to do it first. That's leadership, guys. I just wanted to get a little rant to you guys about leadership and the lack of it in our government. Guys, let me know what you think. Is that the best way to lead? Or should we just have, you know, do as I say or I'll send you to prison? Anyway, guys, I'm going to back to grid. I'll get you another video later.